I have been gaming ever since I was 6 years old, when I got my first Game Boy and soon later upgraded to the PlayStation 1. Although I only had like 3 games on the PS1, it became a console that I soon loved and appreciated. It wasn't until my cousin walked into my room one day when he was moving out and said, "Here, take it," handing me the holy grail at the time. That console was the PlayStation 2. The PlayStation 2 to this day I am still collecting for as well as enjoying. Yes, I don't turn it on every day, but every once in a while I get the old inclination to experience it once again. The PlayStation 2 is my favorite console of all time, with a game library that is nothing short of unreal. It would only take a few short years for me to experience the next generation of consoles, starting off with the Xbox 360. No joke, when my cousin brought this over for Thanksgiving, after dinner he hooked it up in my room and he brought over 2 games, Call of Duty 2, which was a launch title for the 360, and the new and improved Halo 3. After he turned it on, he handed me the controller and I was absolutely mesmerized. From fighting the Covenant and storming the beaches in Europe, the time escaped me, and later I realized it was nearly 4 a.m. True story, by the way. I remember getting my PS3 a year later after saving up with only one game I could afford to get, which was Batman Arkham Asylum, falling in love with it. The point is, I love gaming, new and old. I love to collect games, to connect with friends, to share moments, and of course to have fun, and sometimes escape. But I can't help but feel like nearly 5 years into this 9th generation of consoles, it is just pure disappointment. Now mainly the biggest issue with this generation is, to no one's surprise, is the games. I won't bring up Nintendo in this video simply because Nintendo does their own thing, and even though they have weaker hardware, the games on offer are fantastic, and which is why I'm looking forward to the Switch 2 predecessor. The main companies we will be talking about today will be Sony and Microsoft. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there are no games to play, because technically there always is. However, the first party lineup has been a damn near drought for both consoles, with only PlayStation getting the edge with some consistency, whereas Xbox, well yeah, it's been a damn mess for Xbox. What I want to do in this video is illustrate where this console generation is falling flat, as well as just kind of vent about how frustrating this situation really is. Because make no mistake, I am neither a fanboy of PlayStation or Xbox. I am a fan of having great games. And for just anyone's curiosity, I own all 3 of the consoles: PS5, Xbox Series X, and Nintendo Switch. The fanboy days are behind me, so let's just sit down, relax, have some fun, and I recommend getting a snack and a drink ready as we poke fun at the corporate world of gaming and how incompetent some of these jackasses really are. The 9th generation of consoles started in November of 2020 with the launch of Xbox Series X and S. I stood outside at 2 a.m. to get this console with my friend Chris because, well, we didn't get a pre-order, verification, and we couldn't pre-order because they were all sold out. And luckily enough, the GameStop him and I went to had 2 Series X's ready, which was great. Shout out to Chris, by the way, because we waited for so damn long. My goal was to play Cyberpunk 2077 on a next-gen system, and at the time, my faith in Xbox was bright simply because of the moves that Xbox was doing to better themselves. Calm down, this was 4 years ago. I didn't know. The PS5 I got a few months later, paying $200 over sticker price because simply you couldn't get them, and to this day, I do not regret it at all. Now, like I said earlier, the console hardware is good, and there are pros to owning each console. Xbox has a phenomenal backwards compatibility library where if you own an original Xbox or 360 game with the selected few compatible titles, you can insert it into your Xbox and it will read perfectly fine. Sony, can you fucking do this for the PS3 and PS2? I know you can, you just don't want to do it. You rather have us pay for it again. Anyway, Xbox also has an awesome feature called Quick Resume that doesn't get brought up enough of how good it actually is. Like seriously, it is severely underrated. PlayStation has the power of their first-party studios, along with cool exclusives to treat the player. Overall, both systems are solid, but if there are not enough exclusive first-party games to take advantage of the system's hardware, then what is the point of having them?
No shit.
And at this point in the video, you're probably asking yourself, well, what was the launch lineup for these two? Or, or what can you remember? Well, for Xbox, mainly Dirt 5, Assassin's Creed, Valhalla. I shit you not. Halo Infinite was delayed. It was supposed to be there at launch, but most of the games were upgrades for Xbox Series X and S. PlayStation, although a small list, had Spider-Man Miles Morales, Demon's Souls Remake, and Astro's Playroom, which was installed on every single PS5. I think a lot of people forgave the weak launch lineup, including myself, simply because of the pandemic being something we were still going through, but nonetheless, it was disappointing. Finally, after a few years, the lineups for both consoles were starting to form, and in 2023, after all the delays for games, we were finally coming out in full. Games like Baldur's Gate 3, Resident Evil 4 Remake, along with some unique titles like Hi-Fi Rush, were great games. But then something weird happened, and I mean weird. Something was going on behind the scenes with Sony and Microsoft, and one of the first inclinations of that was when Xbox was having issues, and I mean big ones. You see, Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, goes on a podcast after the Redfall disaster and says something so brain dead and so stupid that I can't even make up. You have to watch the clip. And keep in mind, the question beforehand was if Xbox is still focused on the console market. Just watch.
Anywhere you want. We want Xbox to be something that people who buy our console can feel like they're a member of. Obviously, who are playing on PC, who are playing on cloud, that they feel like they're full members of our ecosystem. Game Pass players can play on many different devices, and we remain fully committed to that. We're not in the business of out-consoling Sony or out-consoling Nintendo. There isn't really a great solution or win for us. And I know that will upset a ton of people, but it's just the truth of the matter is that when you're third place in the console marketplace and the top two players are as strong as they are and have, in certain cases, very, very discrete focus on doing deals and other things that will that kind of make being Xbox hard for us as a team. That's on us, not on anybody else. Our vision is that everybody who's on console has to feel like they have a great experience and they're a first-class citizen. They've invested a ton in our platform. But we are not in a position, and I see it out there. I see commentary that if you just build great games, everything would turn around. It's just not true that if we go off and build great games, all of a sudden you're going to see console share shift in some dramatic way. We lost the worst generation to lose in the Xbox One generation, where everybody built their digital library of games. So when you go and you're building on Xbox, we want our Xbox community to feel awesome. But this idea that if we just focused more on great games on our console, that somehow we're going to win the console race, I think doesn't really lay into the reality of most people. Like 90% of the people every year who walk into a retailer to buy a console are already a member of one of the three ecosystems.
Now, I understand where Phil is coming from and what he is trying to say. And plus, being in third place and them saying that they lost the biggest generation to lose with the digital libraries with the Xbox One. And can you blame them? The Xbox One was just great at launch. It had one of the best E3 press conferences of all time. And if you cannot detect my sarcasm, I am being sarcastic because it was a failure and it was so bad that Microsoft is still feeling the effects from it.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Xbox One.
TV experience. TV. TV and movies. TV. Xbox. Watch TV. 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 TV, TV, watch TV, 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 TV remote, TV experience, TV, 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 sports TV, TV, TV.
But having the nerve in saying that building great games will not increase your market share or console share is the stupidest shit I have ever heard. When he said that, I told myself, that's a wrap for Xbox. Because what is the point of buying a console? It's because you want to play games, and some people just don't like to play PC, which is perfectly understandable. Now yes, I know there are games in the pipeline for Xbox, but with how Game Pass is just killing sales for games and sucking them dry, subscription increases after the massive acquisition for Activision Blizzard, which was $69 billion, by the way.
Nice.
Pair that with bland, unfinished, and downright broken releases is just disrespectful. Everyone laughing at Xbox right now and wanting them to do bad is just an idiot. Seriously, we all know the Xbox 360 is an icon and downright will make any person smile remembering the nostalgia that came with it.
Guess there's only one thing I can do to regain your love.
Xbox. However, why do you want Xbox to be better and do better? It's because it's a multi-billion-dollar market, and competition is good for the consumer, which is you and I. But don't think PlayStation is safe either, because they've certainly had their so-called speed bumps, and let me tell you, they are more than infuriating.
I have one. I have one! There's no games! There's no games on it! There's nothing! It's a Netflix box! There's nothing! There's no games on this! The best thing about this is the controller, so you can play like Dark Souls on it. There is no games on this thing! There's nothing!
PlayStation has also been disappointing, with one man to thank for that, which is former CEO of PlayStation, Jim Ryan. Why should you thank this man? Because before he left the company, he told nearly all PlayStation studios to work on live service games. Now, with him gone, PlayStation is trying to revert back to what they do best, which is great single-player games and great experiences. And for anyone with half a brain cell knows that that decision does not happen overnight. We will unfortunately have to wait for these new single-player games for years because of this guy. We are still feeling the repercussions, with Concord being its most recent, reportedly over $100 million disaster, Naughty Dog basically skipping this generation and just re-releasing The Last of Us because their multiplayer live service game was cancelled. But don't worry guys, don't worry. We have the PS5 Pro coming. This thing is unreal. You are paying $700 for a console which is slightly faster, and oh, by the way, if you want a vertical stand and a disk drive, you are looking at nearly $800 before tax. And for what? For what? The most unfortunate thing about the PS5 is that this is arguably one of Sony's best consoles with a great controller as well, and they just have barely anything to show for it, along with not having themes and or folders for games. Like Sony, how hard is it for you to update your damn user interface to include the most wanted feature of custom themes and organizing your games into folders? But no, we always have to wait either midway through the generation or near the end of the generation to get these most wanted features. This is just absolutely ridiculous. Sony is getting cocky because they realize there is no competition when it comes to their main competitor, which is Xbox. And this is why competition is important. It incentivizes companies to keep trying to innovate for the customer, which is you and I. I love my PS5, I really do, I absolutely adore it, but the first party lineup has been so bad because of leadership, it is a miracle if we even get 3 to 4 games in a year from their first party studios. There are just 13 exclusives on the PS5 right now. 13, not counting the ones that are future planned or the ones that haven't even come out yet. 13 games since the start of 2020. That is how bad this generation is. The other issue Sony and Xbox is having right now is cross-gen. They simply cannot let the past consoles die because of the player base. We are more than halfway through the life cycle. Stop producing games for these outdated systems. This is why games are coming out and being so-called downgraded, simply because of having to worry about last-gen consoles. And speaking of games, let's go ahead and get into that finally.
Faith alone isn't enough, Kiriko.
I'm stronger than you think.
Gaming these past couple of years has been rough. There's been so many hero shooters, battle royales, battle passes. It is honestly exhausting. Anytime I hear a game that has a battle pass or requires an always online, I just think of that one scene from a movie called Heat where Al Pacino gets up from a table and says,
Don't waste my motherfucking time!
Now, that's not to say all games are bad. Of course not. The indie scene is thriving with creativity. But for every good game, there is a AAA schlop that comes with it. Games are broken and or unfinished, server stability is terrible, games will shut down after buying their product for $70, which in a way you're asking yourself, why do I keep doing this? And the list seems to get longer and longer every single month. Not to mention, in 2023 alone, players were reportedly playing older games in recent surveys being held around the gaming industry. Wow, I wonder why. There also has been a lot of remakes, and I'm not one of those guys who hates on remakes. If you don't like them, I completely understand. But I think remakes are downright amazing when done right and not half-assed. For instance, my two examples are Resident Evil 4 Remake as well as the Dead Space remake. Unfortunately, the Dead Space remake didn't sell all that well, and even though the studio behind it, which was called Motive, wanted to remake Dead Space 2 right away, EA said no. Classic EA.
Why are you the way that you are?
I get excited for remakes like Silent Hill 2 and Metal Gear Solid Delta. I don't get excited for HD remakes or anything like that because I personally consider those to be ports. The rest of 2024 will have some interesting releases. However, 2025 is gearing up to be a big one, with the obvious elephant in the room, which is Grand Theft Auto 6. Millions of fans, including myself, are excited for this game because right now, we need innovation and fun more than ever before.
Up you go. Sorry, kiddo. Still got a ways to go.
As I get older, I realize sometimes you gotta take the good with the bad. And this Horizon definitely has some bright spots, so don't worry, it's not going to be all bad all the time. I'm looking forward to quite a few games, like for instance, Capcom's mysterious Pragmata, which was revealed all the way back in 2020 and has been delayed multiple times, but looks so cool and interesting, I cannot wait to see more, especially the streak that Capcom is on right now. Silent Hill F from Konami looks so unsettling and so cool from the tone of the CGI trailer. It is making me so excited to see what they've been cooking up behind the scenes, especially with the revival of the Silent Hill series. There will always be things to look forward to in a very average, or in this case, downright disappointing generation. Gaming is about to change in the next few years, with physical discs being considered things of the past or downright unnecessary, when I cannot argue enough that is not the case. I will always advocate for physical games as well as buy them till the day I cannot. Internet connections always need to be required to install games and or play single player modes. Preservation is becoming something not important to companies, telling directly to the customer that you should start getting comfortable with not owning your games, aka Ubisoft. The industry itself is a multi-billion-dollar market in the entertainment industry, making more than television and movies combined. The one thing I cannot urge you enough is to be smart with who you give your hard-earned money to, and vote with your wallet. It is beyond frustrating to see so much regression of gaming in 2024, basically failing to innovate on the simplest of terms and instead try to get the player to spend rather than to earn. With the horizon looking like it definitely will have some bright spots in between, there are more than likely some storms coming our way that we just don't see. From IPs not being revived and or forgotten, or even worse, being butchered, never forget the true meaning of gaming, which is to have fun. Gaming is truly one of the landscapes where there is something for everyone, and it's no more prevalent than today, making gaming more accessible and engaging than ever before. So yes, this generation might suck, but it doesn't mean that there aren't developers out there trying to create and craft fun experiences that we can all enjoy for years to come. It just means sometimes we gotta wait to experience it, because after all, you never know when you're just one great release away from experiencing something special.